Hi, I'm Carmel Fisher, and you're watching the Sequire Spotlight, brought to you by Shracks Inc. I'm also the Vice President of Platform Services here at Sequire, and today I'm also hosting Sequire Spotlight. With me, I have David Santrella, CEO of Salem Media Group. We're going to touch on some market trends as well as catch up on their earnings season. David, welcome to the Sequire Spotlight.
Great to be with you, Carmel. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. To get started, could you please let us know what Salem Media Group does, a brief overview and anything else you'd like to bring our attention to?
Sure. Salem is a publicly traded company in the media space. We're really pretty diversified in terms of that space. We have about 100 local radio stations as far west as Hawaii, as far east as New York or Miami and Boston, places like that all along the eastern seaboard. And kind of everywhere in between. Salem largely specializes in the top 25 largest markets in the country. About 50% of the population lives in the top 25 markets in the country. You've got to buy like the other 300 plus markets to get the balance of the country. So being in the top 25 is, strategically appropriate for us. We also have about 3,100 affiliates that take Salem content. That might be anything from Salem News, which is SRN News or Town Hall News, to our music network or a variety of our talk, syndicated talk programs that we do. We also have a satellite distribution arm. And we really specialize in three core genres of content. And then, of course, we go deep in terms of media vehicles for each of those genres. So we specialize in what we call Christian teaching and talk, which is largely sermon-based content from well-known national pastors, people like Focus on the Family or Insight for Living with Chuck Swindoll or In Touch with Dr. Charles Stanley. And many, many others that comprise that teach and talk format. Then separately, we have the Christian contemporary music format. Those stations are typically branded as The Fish, and those are, basically like adult contemporary music formats, but it's with Christian contemporary music that's generally positive and uplifting. The environment for those radio stations are safe for the whole family. So our hosts are never talking about things that you're going to be embarrassed to have your kids in the backseat listening to. And then lastly, we have radio stations and other content in the politically conservative news talk space. And that's where we have hosts like Hugh Hewitt, Dennis Prager, Sebastian Gorka, Eric Metaxas, Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, all who occupy, Charlie Kirk is one I left out there, all who specialize in content that's politically conservative in nature. And then, of course, we offer a lot of different media verticals there. So we offer them on radio, we have podcasts, we now have an over-the-top television channel, and other forms of media offering that content. And I should have left out, we also have a publishing company. I'm a new CEO, forgive me. I literally, January 1, so I was the broadcast president for many, many years. January 1, I took on the CEO role for our company. And so I'm in the kind of the steep learning curve of learning parts of our business that just a few months ago I knew on the surface. And so we also own Regnery Publishing, which is the publishing arm of our company, and we publish largely politically conservative books. We have Salem Books, which is a Christian book publisher for our company, and then we own about 100 standalone websites. Things like crosswalk.com, Bible study tools, Christianity.com, Town Hall, Hot Air, Twitchy. Those are all standalone websites owned by our company. So, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
Definitely a mouthful, but all makes complete sense. And congratulations on the new appointment. I'm sure it comes well deserved. You mentioned positive and uplifting, and I think most of us can agree that, just coming out of the pandemic and of course with the geopolitical environment currently underway, we definitely can, use a lot more positivity and upliftment. So it's wonderful that, you guys have all these elements to your offering. Very diversified offering. What would you say are you most passionate about and why?
Yeah, what I'm most passionate about is the impact that our company makes. Salem is an interesting company. I've been with our company for 21 years, and it's a for-profit, publicly traded company. But really, our agenda is not money. Our agenda is impact. But here's the key, and that's that when your agenda is bigger than money, but money is what it takes to get there, you'll do whatever you need to do to make it happen, right? So the idea of just acquiring money for money's sake is wonderful, but the reality is if you or I had a child, let's say, that needed an operation, and that operation was going to cost $100,000, and we didn't have $100,000, we would do anything we needed to do to get the money, because the end goal would be so important. And our end goal is so important. The end goal being to impact lives is so important that we drive hard after the money, because it takes money to get that going. And so what I'm passionate about is the impact that our company makes. And just to give you an example, I was just actually telling some friends at dinner last night about this. We got a letter from a listener that was going through divorce, had some things in his life that I think any of us would probably be regretting. And he decided, it was a rainy day in California, and he decided that it was time to end it. And he was driving 90 miles an hour down a road that ended at a cliff and into the Pacific Ocean with a nice big drop off. And as he's driving down this road at 90 miles an hour towards the cliff, his finger hit the little button on the steering wheel that changed his radio. And he happened to hit our radio station, one of our stations here in LA. And he heard the air personality say, "It doesn't matter what you've done, God loves you and has a plan for you." And he hit the brakes. He hit the brakes and lived to write us a letter to tell us the difference that our station's made in his life. And so that's what I'm most proud of. That's what I'm most passionate about, is that level of impact that we're able to have with our listeners.
Incredible. Talk about divine timing. And of course, I totally agree where we speak of, aiming for the purpose and not so much the financial gain, because when your heart and mind is in the right place, everything else follows. So I'm in total agreement with that.
I was going to say the why is so important, right? That we spend as leaders in business, we spend all of our time on the what and on the how. Here's what we have to do. Here's how we have to do it. And oftentimes the what and the how come at the expense of the why. But the why we do what we do is so incredibly important, because that's what gets people excited about going to work in the morning. When they know that their work makes a difference, that why is the fuel that just keeps them moving forward and excited.
Absolutely. Great. So I'm going to steer the direction of this conversation to a little bit more to the markets. And I want to touch specifically on Zacks, an equity research firm who looks at the latest trends in value, growth, and momentum to find strong companies with their proven ranking system, of course, right? And they place an emphasis on earnings estimates and estimate revisions to find winning stocks. So when I was poking around doing some research, I discovered that, of course, NASDAQ-listed Salem is currently holding a Zacks rank of number 2 with a buy indicator and a value grade of A, right? So the stock is trading with a price-to-earnings ratio of 13.49, which compares to the industry average of 18.79. So over the past year, Salem's forward price-to-earnings has been as high as 308.97 and as low as minus 35.89, with a median of 28.14. So bear with me. I'm making a point, because what I also found is that value investors use the price to sales ratio, which is calculated as price divided by sales. Now, this is a popular metric because sales are harder to manipulate on an income statement, so they are often considered a better performance indicator. Now, Salem has a price to sales ratio of 0.35, and how that compares to its industry average is it's 0.9 for the industry. So these are just a handful of the figures considered in Salem Media Group's great value grade, right? Still, they help to show that the stock is likely being undervalued at the moment. Add this to the strength of its earnings outlook, and we can clearly see that, your ticker is an impressive value stock right now, right? So what can you attribute these wonderful numbers to, and why do you think the stock is currently undervalued?
Well, I mean, I can attribute the wonderful numbers really to the performance of our company and to the team that we have in place. Our growth has been significant. We've typically, both prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic, we've outperformed our peers in terms of our growth. And in fact, during the pandemic, we outperformed our peers in terms of we didn't take the pain as much as others did. And part of that, Carmel, is because of the business model behind our company, right? So we have about 30% of our revenues come from these national ministries that buy time on our radio stations, on our teach and talk radio stations for their long form, which are typically 25 to 28-minute programs. Those ministries have been on the air with us for years. In fact, most of those contracts are contracts that were signed 40 years ago. And the only thing that's changed in 40 years is the rate. I mean, they just renew. 95% of that portion of our business renews every year. We just mentioned in our Q4 earnings call that we anticipate this year that revenue from that category will be up about 8% based on some new ministries that signed on with us towards the fourth quarter of 2021. So that has a long sustaining positive impact on our revenues in our largest category. And so I think, in many respects, Salem, because of that stable business, we're not prone to some of the downfalls that our peers are prone to when they're so reliant on spot advertising business. And then when you couple that with all of these growth trajectories or growth initiatives that Salem has taken in the last few years. So we've opened up Salem Surround, which is a digital advertising agency in every market where we operate radio stations and have sales forces. We've opened up our Salem Surround digital ad agency offices. We launched in April of 2020 Salem Now, which was a TVOD, transactional video on demand platform for movies that won't find a home on places like Amazon Prime or Netflix. That's done exceptionally well for us. We launched the Salem Podcast Network in November of 2020. That's generated significant revenues for us. And so at the end of the day, when we stay in our lane, and our lane is, again, those three genres of content, when we stay in that lane and own that lane, we do exceptionally well. We generate good amounts of revenue for it. And we've seen significant growth, particularly now from those digital initiatives. In terms of why the stock is undervalued, I think it's probably because the digital initiatives that we've launched, and we've had, again, we've owned standalone websites since 1999. We've been on Sirius. We were on XM radio before the satellite actually even launched. So we've always been very forward thinking, but some of those things have kind of stayed under the radar. It's really only been in the last couple of years that more significantly, the digital efforts of our company have kind of surfaced, and I think it's going to take a while for for kind of the value of our stock to catch up with some of those initiative realities.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. I'm sure you're hearing all the buzz about the metaverse out there and a very strong trend towards that. Do you foresee Salem Media following suit at some point?
Yeah, I do. I think it's like anything else. We always have to gauge all of that by again making sure that we stay in the lane. So whether it's the metaverse or podcasting or whatever, and I'll give you a great example. So iHeartMedia, a fantastic media company. iHeart has acquired Stuffworks. They, I think, acquired Stuffworks 2.5, 3 years ago. And they have virtually thousands of different kinds of podcasts available through Stuffworks. And that makes complete sense for iHeart because they're a general market media company appealing to the masses. And so on Stuffworks, you can get everything from true crime to, you know, some unique little podcast with Will Ferrell or Amy Schumer or something like that. Whereas with Salem, if we tried to do that, we'd fail miserably because our listener doesn't expect to come to us for that. It's like if I go to a sporting goods store, I don't expect to find pajamas, right? If I go to the sporting goods store, I'm there to find sporting goods. And so we, in everything that we do, including the metaverse, we have to stay within, you know, attracting the audience that we're good at attracting. And as long as we do that, I think we can go deep, you know, into all forms of media and do quite well.
I tend to agree. And of course, you're the main strategist for Salem Media, and we look forward to seeing all the next step developments for the company. Can you give us 3 key takeaways for our viewers, potential investors, and anyone else who may be watching?
3 key takeaways would be this. 1, we have a very stable company. As I said, 30% of our revenue is generated from these national ministries. 95% of those national ministries renew every single year with us. And so it's a very stable and solid business model that doesn't fluctuate. It's not prone to some of the unique proclivities that the rest of the market is prone to. Number 2, Salem has launched an incredible number of new digital initiatives. In the last 36 months, those digital initiatives have a significant amount of headspace, runway in front of them. I think you can expect to see Salem morph to more of a multimedia company in the next couple of years, where you'll see a greater percentage of our revenue coming from digital initiatives than from broadcast initiatives, without us giving ground on broadcast revenues. And then lastly, Salem is a company with a heart. It's a company where what we do every day makes a difference. It makes a difference to our employees, and that drives us forward at a greater level of passion than I think companies that don't have as strong a why as we do.
100%. Wonderful. Thank you so much. In closing, please tell our viewers where they can find more information about Salem Media Group.
Yeah, they can certainly go to salemmedia.com and go to the Investors Relations tab at salemmedia.com for more information. They're welcome to call us here at the corporate office if they want to for more information. Evan Macer is our CFO. He is just a fantastic resource if they have other questions. Our corporate phone number is 805-987-0400. Welcome to call that anytime. And of course, I'm available as well.
Excellent. Everybody, that was David Santrella, CEO of Salem Media Group, and you're watching Sequire Spotlight. I'm out, Carmel Fisher.